Check out what Steph Curry has to say about visualization.
Well, for me, I mean, you visualize where you want to be and what you want to accomplish, and you kind of get lost in the process of day-to-day, grinding it out and working, pulling on ours if you have to. It's just about not losing vision and not losing sight of what you're trying to accomplish, no matter what hurdles you have to go through. So I think that kind of relates to whatever you're doing, whatever major you've chosen or what you're interested in. So for me in basketball, and it's about visualizing, whether you write it down, put it on the wall, do something, what your goals are, and get lost in the process of day-to-day grind, day-to-day getting better every single day. Asking questions, aligning yourself with people that have been through it before, that are experienced, and leaning on that advice, and just trying to outwork the next person, and that's the biggest thing.
Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, heroes and villains. I'm your host, Deshaun Fauntleroy. I know your time is precious, so we're going to get right into today's show. Are you too slow? You're too slow. You're not fast enough. You're not big enough. You're too short. Your feet are too big. You're clumsy. You ever been told something like that? You don't write good enough. You're terrible at math. Has anybody ever said that to you? Can you remember any such statements from your youth? Can you remember any such statements from your parents? See, we're talking about how to free yourself from false beliefs. But where do false beliefs come from? They generally start when we're younger, and then they manifest through adulthood. Be careful, coaches. This is a direct statement to coaches. Be careful what you say to your athletes. They may agree with you. Before calling an athlete stupid, before calling an athlete slow, before calling an athlete clumsy, before calling an athlete no good, it is very important for a coach to consider this question. Is this how I would raise my child to experience him or herself? We're talking about how to free yourself from false beliefs. Too often, and I'll say globally, us as coaches, we're quick to critique a student athlete. We're quick to tell them what they're lacking. We're quick to tell them what they don't have versus telling them, okay, these are some things that we can work on. Here's some ways that we can get better. In fact, I see you getting better every day in your sport. I see you getting better every day in math. I see you getting better every day in calculus. Versus consistently beating a student athlete up with words that are imprinting false beliefs into their mind. If you believe you're limited in a particular way of living, then you are. Just ask an elephant trainer. If the circus doesn't happen to be in town this week and you're not planning a trip to India, imagine this scene. You got a full-grown elephant with a 2-inch band of steel around her hind leg, attached to a chain perhaps 6 feet long. The chain, in turn, is fastened to a stake that's been driven into the ground. Now, it's obvious that the elephant could pull up the stake anytime she wished, but she doesn't. That elephant was first chained to the stake when she was a baby and wasn't even strong enough to move it. She soon learned the fertility of trying to yank the stake free and began to accept it as a condition of her life. By the time she was strong enough to free herself, she had stopped trying. As long as she got her hay, water, and an occasional peanut, she was content to live out her life within a 6-foot radius. Elephants have been known to die in fires while chained to stakes they could easily move. Who does this remind you of? But at the end of the day, many of us human beings are constrained by beliefs as false as the poor elephants. We allow our abilities to be defined by chains we could snap and stakes we could pull out of the ground. Our mind, you have to remember, our mind needs a goal to strive for. If false beliefs keep us from setting goals, it becomes impossible for us to reach any. So as you reflect on this story, especially if you're listening to this, coaches, parents, mentors, you really have to watch what you say to your student athletes. You really have to watch what you say to young people, because you could be putting a chain on them. You could be driving a stake into the ground that they never pull out in terms of success. So think about these things. Don't confine your student athlete to a 6-foot radius. So at the end of the day, what you believe conditions what you can do. If you believe you're not fast enough, if you've been told you're not fast enough, and if you believe that, what's going to give you the reason to become a faster athlete? What's going to give you the reason to do your sprint training? If you believe you're not strong enough, or if you've been told you're not strong enough, how are you going to take action to change those beliefs? Because remember, as I said before, what you believe conditions what you do. If you're playing a sport, you're playing a skill position, and you believe you're not fast, why are you going to put in the effort? Why would you put in the extra hours of training? Why would you put in the extra hours of doing hill work or pulling sleds? Why would you put in the extra hours of doing strength and conditioning in the weight room? Why would you put in the hours of doing extra plyometrics if you believe you can't get any faster? Again, this message goes out heavily to coaches. We have to watch what we say to our young athletes, because what we say often leaves an imprint in their mind, and that imprint is going to influence their